Welcome, eating and cooking fans, to Cooking with Omnius Prime. Today, I show you how to roast a turkey, plus make the stuffing and gravy from scratch. As you can see from my opening shot, I've made a beautiful and tasty meal. The turkey is perfectly roasted, with the breast meat being very juicy. The stuffing and gravy are excellent. For my English version, I'm using the red, white, and blue of the American flag. For the German version, I'm using the red, white, and red of the Austrian flag to honor my Austrian heritage from my dearly beloved mom. First off, I'm cooking a 14-pound, 12-ounce honeysuckle white turkey, a male tom turkey. That would be 6.7 kilograms. My first job after defrosting, cleaning, and drying my turkey is to prepare the flavor rub. Here you can see that I start off with 2 sticks of butter. By weight, that's 8 ounces or 226 grams. Then I add spices to my butter so the spices stay put. I use my imagination as to what to use from my pantry. Usually, everything except the kitchen sink. I used onion and garlic salt, plus dried garlic flakes. I also used dill weed, parsley flakes, paprika, and ground nutmeg. I even used crushed red pepper flakes, ground cloves, and cumin to vary the flavors. I also used some combination spices just to increase flavor variation. I never measure. I just add what I think will taste good. I mix them up in my stand mixer so I can do other things while mixing up the spice butter mixture. I whip it. Whip it good. A small tribute to the musical group from the 80s, Devo. Then it's a matter of rubbing the turkey with the spice butter mixture. Before I start that, I make sure to run my fingers between the breast skin and meat to open that up to place rub into. Then I add plenty of the spice butter rub to that pocket before rubbing down the whole turkey with my butter rub. I use butter because it tastes better, plus gives a better browning color. My oven is set to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 163 degrees Celsius. If I were to roast a much smaller turkey, like I found in Austria last year, then I think it might be better to go with 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius. Estimated cooking time is 4 hours for an almost 15-pound or 6.7 kilogram turkey. That's about 16 minutes per pound or almost 36 minutes per kilogram. A smaller turkey cooked at a higher temperature will cook a little quicker and should yield a nice brown skin. I estimate about 14 minutes per pound or 33 minutes per kilogram at the higher temperature. I also add on roasting time to account for taking the turkey out of the oven for basting. In this case, another 45 minutes. After rubbing the turkey down good with the spice butter rub, you'll need to place it in your roasting pan. My roasting pan comes with a rack that doesn't sit up high enough to keep the turkey out of the cooking juices. I also use an adjustable roasting rack, one that has movable sides that can raise the meat up. It's really an essential cooking tool. Sorry I didn't get a better camera angle to show off the adjustable roasting rack. Now, the most important thing is how to place your turkey onto the roasting rack. I start off placing the turkey upside down on the rack. That's so the turkey breasts are on the bottom, so the turkey juices will flow down into the breasts, making that meat more juicy as well as ensuring a good roast of the bottom side of the turkey. Then I place 2 poultry skewers in to fasten the rear skin flap to the bottom of the turkey. Now you can see the adjustable roasting rack better, as well as how high the turkey sits above the cooking juices. I put my oven rack on the bottom setting so I can place the turkey down as far as possible to make room for a top rack that will hold the stuffing. This is about 45 minutes after placing the turkey into the oven. You can see I've boiled the giblets for use in the turkey gravy. Made it the way my dearly beloved dad used to. Plus, some goes to my 4 cats. Now, it's time to prepare the stuffing. I love Mrs. Cubbison's the best. It is more expensive, but I feel worth the extra money since the bread cubes stay cubed better inside a box. These happen to be the classic flavor, and I also like the traditional and cornbread varieties as well. They are flavored, but you can use unflavored bread cubes and just add a little spice to them. I use an onion and a bunch of celery for mine rather than measure them out. For 12 ounces or 340 grams of bread cubes, the suggested recipe is to use 1 cup of each, or about 250 milliliters by measuring cup. We'll also need about 1.5 cups or 375 milliliters of flavored broth. I'm using a roasted garlic with chicken broth cube for this stuffing. I'm also using a nice large cooking pot to have plenty of room to stir my stuffing. I'm also using 2 sticks of butter again, or 8 ounces or 226 grams by weight. I used to chop my veggies by hand, but made the slices too big, so now use my new food processor to chop them up. Funny, but it probably takes longer to chop them up in the food processor, plus the added cleaning time, but I like the results better as I get a finer chop. It's also safer for me and my clumsy hands. No sliced fingers this way. However, before chopping, I wash my celery to make sure it has no dirt on it. Here you can see I've melted the butter in my cooking pot, so I can place my onion and celery in first to start sautéing. I sauté them for maybe 5 minutes at most, just enough to start them cooking, but not so they become mushy. I want to retain the bright green color of the celery. Now I make my broth from cubes, but you can also get canned broth too, or even better, make it from scratch. After the veggies have sautéed long enough, I put the bread cubes into the mix and stir until all cubes are moistened. Sorry about the camera angle, as it's tough to stir and point the camera at the same time. Then I place about 1 cup or 250 milliliters of broth in first to see how moist that makes the stuffing. It made it moist enough so I didn't use the remaining 1/2 cup or 125 milliliters of broth. I saved that for the gravy. Now, we see the turkey after about 1.5 hours of roasting. To begin, I only baste the turkeys about every 45 minutes for the first 2 hours. I love using the bulb baster best. It allows for sucking up the cooking juices better from the pan. I like to use one hand to tilt the pan so the juices accumulate at the other end for easier sucking up of the cooking juices in the bulb baster. I also use a small paintbrush to sop up the juices to spread over the turkey. Always important to get the juices up out of the neck cavity so your turkey roasts instead of boils. Now we're back to the stuffing, as I kept it covered for at least 5 to 10 minutes so the bread cubes could fully absorb the broth. I've greased a 3-quart glass or almost 3-liter baking dish with butter. I then place my stuffing into the baking dish and cover with aluminum foil until I'm ready to bake it. I'll bake it for about an hour. I like to bake it uncovered so I get a more crunchy texture on top, as well as getting it drier so it can absorb more gravy. You can cover it with the aluminum foil and bake it for a half hour before removing the cover if you like your stuffing less crispy and dry. Now we're looking at the turkey after about 2 hours of roasting. You can see the color developing nicely, and then I flip the turkey over to have the breast side up. You can see me use the bulb baster to suck up juices out of the neck cavity. That red dot you see on the side is a built-in thermometer that's supposed to pop out when the turkey is done. It didn't, but I knew when it was done. You can also see small clumps of spice clinging to the skin after the butter long melted away. More time has elapsed, probably another 45 minutes, and I'm basting again. You can see that dark patch on top where the spices from my spice butter rub have accumulated and stayed to flavor the breast meat. I see that instead of the old metal Volt clip, they now use a plastic clip to hold the legs together. The old metal Volt clip was invented by turkey farmer Hank Volk of Turlock, California, where I went to college. The college was nicknamed Turkey Tech back then. After it became a university, the nickname changed to Gobble U, short for university. Now you can see that I put on a small aluminum foil covers to keep the wingtips from browning too much. Probably a good 3.5 hours after starting the cooking process. You can also make a tent of aluminum foil to cover the whole turkey if it starts getting too brown. You can see the covered bread stuffing in the back. Now I've placed both turkey and stuffing into the oven, and thankfully I have enough room for both. The turkey breast skin is looking beautifully brown now. After about 3 hours, I start basting about every half hour. Wow, absolutely perfectly roasted turkey. The thermometer says 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius, so the turkey is done. The added 45 minutes really makes the difference in ensuring it's well cooked and not overcooked. Truly, a thing of beauty to behold. Now to let it rest about 20 to 30 minutes to let the juices settle inside the meat properly. Now it's time to make the gravy. I've taken out the cooking juices and placed them in an oil separator cup. But the brown stuff wants to go along with the oil, so I'll have to just use a measuring spoon to measure out the cooking juice oil. I use 8 tablespoons of oil and about 10 tablespoons of flour. Normally, it's 1 tablespoon of oil to 1 tablespoon of flour, but I want to ensure my gravy is thick enough. You want to be careful to get only oil into making the gravy roux. I then pour out a little of the oil before putting all of the pan drippings into the gravy. I use some broth to help loosen the baked-in bits on the pan bottom. You want to cook the roux long enough to get the flour taste out. My daughter used to complain about my gravies tasting too much like flour because I didn't cook my roux long enough. I read up on gravy making and discovered there are many shades of color corresponding to types of gravy. Thanks to my daughter, I now make awesome gravy. Here, I've made sure to cook my roux at least 7 minutes until it develops a nice brown color instead of being too blonde. Then I can pour in about 5 cups or 1,250 milliliters of my roasted garlic and chicken, plus vegetable broth to make my gravy. Basically about 2/3 cup or 165 milliliters of broth per tablespoon of butter and flour. Once the gravy comes to a boil, it's done and fully thickened. Now I'm adding in the turkey giblets to make turkey giblet gravy like dear old Dad did. I used to not like the giblets, but I've grown to like them as I grew older. You can see the gravy boils slightly and is fully thickened and done. You can see the stuffing is out of the oven as well. Now it's time to carve my turkey and serve it up. I slice horizontally along the bottom of the breast before starting to cut from top to bottom, so complete slices come out easily. Just look at the spices clinging to the breast top. Makes it like turkey pastrami. The breast meat is so juicy. To complete my meal, I have some jellied cranberry sauce plus a glass of eggnog. You can see gravy in the gravy boat, plus a slice of pumpkin pie, since pumpkin pie is so traditional for Thanksgiving. I also wanted to show the stuffing off without the gravy. I'm trying to show how juicy the breast meat is, but it's hard to get a good focus. Now, you too can roast a turkey perfectly, plus make the stuffing and gravy for a real American-style Thanksgiving turkey dinner.